From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And we're here for the nightly news of Star Wars.
Brought to you today, yes. I love it. I love it.
We're here for ForceCenter's look at Star Wars news. Joseph will remember to say it up top this time. Joseph is out. In fact, as we said, over the next month, Joseph will be here, but Mr. Joseph Scrimshaw is currently setting out to make his first feature film. A lot of you are aware of it, Dead Media. You can still support the film, still give them much-needed budget help, but he's off on this wonderful adventure. So Jennifer and I will be holding down the court. Jennifer, here we are. We're going to do this for Joseph.
Yes, we are, Ken. And today, on today's top story, we...
Breaking news out of the Star Wars galaxy.
Oh, I've always wanted to play a Star Wars reporter. Had a bunch of sketch ideas. Oh, well.
Well, there's still time. There's still time. Despite what Rick Beato says, who I do like, creativity does not end at 30. Before we get to the news, and today it's all Skeleton Crew, the second and official, I think they're calling it, Skeleton Crew trailer is out. We're going to dive in, talk about our favorite moments. We're going to talk about some themes that have emerged and also some theories, speculations, and dare we say, controversies, yes. Before we get to all that, though, I want to remind you, as always, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We are going to recommend Bloodline by Claudia Gray, a 2016, crazy to think, 2016 classic. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. Time, Jen, is against us.
Time, yes, exactly. But we do have some happy news, and that is that we reached our goal on Patreon. We had been hoping to achieve 415 patrons, which we did. We have now locked in a private live stream. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to be happening. It's still to TBD for when Joseph comes back. We'll figure it out. But we have it's a new goal, but we're always striving for more, right? It would be wonderful if we could maybe reach 420. Then we'll have a super private live stream.
Man. 420, man.
Oh boy.
Let's hit it.
I don't do the Alice B. Toklas stuff.
You don't do the sin weed. I don't either. I don't. My mom told me Nancy Reagan said just say no, and I just listened for my entire life. You know.
But we could pretend. We could be like Cheech and Chong and just do our good impressions.
Just do Cheech and Chong sketches. That's what we'll do. Absolutely.
That's what we'll do on our private live stream. Thank you all so much for joining us. And that's all I got.
No, that's great. And we absolutely really appreciate those who support us on Patreon. We obviously, over the last year, have leaned a little bit more into YouTube, but a podcast is still the heart and soul of this. And, the change in the podcast industry, a little bit of a downswing for general middle class and lower podcasts and ad changes. It's been an interesting time. So the best way to support us is kind of an old method. Patreon.com/ForceCenter is that's old. That's like 2016, 2017 crowdsourcing, crowdfunded. But we really appreciate you guys keeping the show afloat. All right.
Yes, thank you.
On that note, Jen.
Yeah.
I've got it. My throat is going to clear. Where we go. There it is. We're going to take a look at the Skeleton Crew trailer. This dropped, what was it, Friday?
I think so.
This is not a criticism of the campaign or anything. It was just such there it is. I kind of liked that versus, I like the big events. You're not going to get, this isn't a movie trailer. I get it. Like the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer will probably be at halftime on Monday Night Football in 2025. Like that I expect. But I like that this was just like, I'm having coffee. Oh, is this a new trailer? Nice. I like that. How did it find you?
I just remembered my 5-year-old, when I showed it to them after school, she had said that she had seen it on her iPad. So I don't know how that's possible. Maybe she saw the teaser for it or some sort of promo material because she's on YouTube Kids. But that was kind of funny. Or maybe she just thought that she had seen it before.
Right.
But I was excited. And it was kind of the perfect thing for the after Halloween hangover. Not that I really had a hangover. I had a candy hangover.
Oh, I had both.
You both? Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, so it was kind of nice. Like the day after Halloween, everyone's coming down. It was the thing that I needed to kind of rev me back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And under 2 minute trailer. Not that we're tracking the time. It got right there to the point, and a lot of thoughts. Like I said, there's some controversies, some things we'll discuss in the second half of the show. But Jen, let's dive into the trailer in terms of our overall reaction. You sit down, you watch it, you got the candy hangover. Like me, I'm assuming it's a bunch of candy corn. No, okay.
Candy corn.
I love that waxy goodness.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. Okay.
Speaking of controversies. But what's your overall reaction to the Skeleton Crew trailer?
I was relieved. It's one of those things where you want it to be good so badly, especially after everything that has happened with the Acolyte. I was like, come on, no whammies. We need it to be hit big, right? And it was like, I just felt relief watching it. I just got, it took me a couple of viewings and I showed my kids, but at the end, I think viewing 4 or 5, I was like, I love this. We need this. Our country needs this. We need this hope. And Skeleton Crew brought it. I'm so grateful for that.
America, the world needed the Skeleton Crew trailer. When you dive in a little deeper into what you said there on your 4th or 5th viewing, that wasn't it wasn't that you didn't like it. It just was the vibe had overtake you. What got you?
Yeah, I mean, like I liked it initially, but I was like, okay, I like it. Let me see what my kids think of it. So, and it was interesting. They both stood there for 2 minutes and watched it, which I appreciated. My 5-year-old loved it. Okay. She's like, that was awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then she told me she saw it on her iPad. My 9-year-old is tougher to win over.
Okay.
She said, it was okay, I guess. But I know that she liked it because she didn't walk away.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's she's kind of going through like this tween thing, even though she's only 9. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. And we're going to turn into a movie night for us.
She's trying to play it cool a little bit or act uninterested.
Think so.
Look,
yeah,
I did this for a lot of in fact, I'll be honest, I still do it. Where, my parents, I remember rented Pee-wee's Big Adventure on VHS from Movies to Go, Grand Avenue, Rio Grande, California, next to Jake, Take and Bake Pizza. What a wild time, the 80s. And I refused to watch it. They're like, we think we'd really like it, and come on. And then I sat in my room and I could hear the movie playing, and because they were like, whatever, and they started laughing. I came out about halfway through, and then we restarted it after we finished it, and Pee-wee was one of the most influential things in my life, but I played it cool. So what it sounds like, your daughter's playing it cool, but she sat there and watched the trailer. It's an A+.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing happened with Hocus Pocus 2 yesterday. She's on her Switch. She's like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to. And then she starts watching it, and she loved it. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your overall reaction. You loved it. You felt the vibes. I'm with you too. I describe it as kind of what fun, meaning this is kind of the fun I needed, and where I've been with my relationship with Star Wars over the last year. It's been a little darker, a little more dour, both the shows and my heart. It's just been a lot going on. The strikes kind of took a lot of wind out of my sails for fandom and the business. So this is the fun I needed, and that it could just be the trailer. The trailer sets a great tone that we're going to dive into. I think the music, the choice of music, and yes, we're going to talk about the choice of Major Tom Coming Home in Huttese, the Peter Schilling 1982 new wave classic that I'm sure we all were expecting to be in Star Wars. I want some deeper thoughts on that. Spoiler, I liked it. I liked that choice. I thought it was great. So the vibe got me. And then, yeah, I'm with you too. I think even watching it this morning, I'm really on board with what they're putting down. And I hope this trailer is setting a tone for, I don't want you to make the faster, more intense joke. It's a 1:59 trailer, but there was a great energy to this, Jen. We keep saying fun. I wish I was 10. I guess I don't wish I was 9, but I wish I was 10 and about to experience this story. Like, I wish we all could go back in time, right? But I'm really excited for the youngsters that are going to experience this. And it's not, and the creators have said, this is not a kids show. It's about kids, and definitely for kids, but don't view it as a kids show. And I think there's going to be a lot in there for us of all ages. But you know what I mean? Where I just like this, what a fun little ride we're about to go on. And I wish I was even younger than I was to appreciate it.
I think that the tone is key, because that was one of the things that before I showed my kids, I was like, is this going to be too scary for them? Because Goonies was scary for me as a kid. And I was like, I don't know if I wanted to be like Goonies scary.
Yeah.
But I felt like it struck the right tone in terms of enough danger and kind of like in suspense that's still age appropriate for kids, and fun and adventure, and really the spirit of what these Amblin movies and 1980s movies were for us kids.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like there were some things in the 80s that, gosh, they were really terrifying. Like,
I mean,
or gut wrenching. You know, I'm like, this is not really appropriate. I'm not going to show my kids now.
Last week on our favorite Ewok moments, you and I talked about some of the deaths in pop culture in the 80s that affected us, and I just mentioned Peeves' Big Adventure. I'm still about 2% afraid of Large Marge because that frightened this little skittish suburban boy in the 80s. So I'm with you. It had the we'll talk more about the themes, but one of the things, the most effective thing for the trailer for me, outside of tone and just the fun I think I'm craving right now with Star Wars, Jen, is this bigger, wider world and seeing it through these kids' eyes. And I'm still really sold on one of the things the creators, I can't remember if it was Watts or Christopher Ford, maybe both, saying we thought of this, conceived this, and kind of pitched this as, what if these 4 kids didn't know they were in Star Wars? And obviously it's not going to be a meta series where suddenly, but the fact that we see, we've seen Wim in the other trailer, the teaser or the second teaser talking, watching a Jedi adventure series and just kind of dreaming about that larger world. That's at the core of Star Wars. We know that. I've always talked about Star Wars being about the hope of tomorrow is actually present today, and your journey has already begun. And we actually get to see that. And we're so far, the series seems like it's going to deliver on that. We'll get into the weeds on each episode. We'll see if the execution works. But overall, I really think they sold the concept in this trailer.
100%. And speaking of the kids, that was another sigh of relief for me. Kid actors are very difficult to cast. Sometimes kid actors are too self-aware, right? Or it's really, really tricky. And on StarWars.com, they had an interview with Chris Ford and John Watts. And one of the things that they mentioned was they looked for kids to cast kids who could embody the spirit of their characters. And I really got that from this trailer. I felt like these kids felt very natural, very real, very good actors. The moments with Neil that were funny, or the moment, it was very organic. It was not forced or pushed. This is a kid who just is naturally a funny kid, right? And I just was so glad, because when your whole ensemble is a bunch of kids, they got to rise to the occasion, and these kids did. And I'm just so happy for them and for us.
Yeah, no, I like that. And again, we always wait till the series comes out. We'll see week to week. We got to see the execution. There was, how do I say it? I've already my overall reaction to the trailer includes me thinking, I already like some of the dialogue and acting better than I've seen in other series recently, and that's just an honest truth. I think when you have a showrunner, the showrunners that are going to allow the directors to cook and do their thing and know how to communicate with these actors and let the actors' energy. They talked about the casting, and this is, I think, a Sarah Finn casting office job here.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. Yeah, to cast on energy. And therefore, you're kind of building the character together. And I think there was some stuff in the interviews about that to find these kids. Watts, other than the Spider-Man stuff, along with Ford, Cop Car deals with younger performers as well. Not saying necessarily kids. It's been a long time since I looked up Cop Car on IMDb. But he's got this kind of approach and experience, and I think I trust. I trust them. I'm glad you brought up the casting thing, because that kind of jumped out here too. Because the kids thing. It can go great. It can go bad. We know this.
Right. And you always want them to do well. And when kids are a little bit, not as great as they could be, it's so hard because they're kids. And I would never want to judge them harshly because of that. It's a very unnatural for any person, let alone a child. Yeah. Quite frankly, it's better for kids because kids are used to playing pretend. Yes. So I'm happy.
And I want to be clear too. Yeah, Jen, you actually brought up a point I want to clarify. I wasn't like taking notes on the kids' performances. I would always give them some grace, but it can be tough. And I think we've seen examples in that in and out of Star Wars. So the younger you go, it can be a little tough, and you work with it. But yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not here to rake youngsters across the coals here, but I'm sure other people will. We've also seen the debate this week of this Star Wars isn't for kids, which is absolutely silly about that. Enough people have shared the George Lucas clip from a few years ago, Star Wars Celebration 2017, talking about how literally it's for 12-year-olds. Shut up. But anyways, another debate for the time. And I do, here's the Going to Watts and Cop Car, which is 2015 independent movie. Two mischievous boys stumble upon a seemingly abandoned police cruiser and steal it, unaware that its murderous owner, Kevin Bacon, who has stashed a hostage in the trunk. Similar vibes here, right?
Oh,
Four mischievous kids stumble on something. Adventure begins. Cop Car is more of a thriller, thing that put Watts on the map. Though at the time, he was a commercial director who was helping develop a little animated show that I may have been working on. He's been doing this for a bit. So I really like what's going on in the overall reaction. That is my overall reaction, Jen. Final thoughts on your overall reaction?
I think, and one last thing I'll say is that a thing I was worried about was, they've been talking about Amblin and 1980s and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so I was worried that it was going to either feel kind of inauthentic or fake, or as I think Chris Ford said, it's important to not just do Star Wars because you don't want to seem like you're mimicking it, right? So I didn't want to feel like a mimic of Star Wars. I didn't want it to feel like a mimic of the 1980s movies. And this was not that. It felt so, I could really feel their passion, the joy that they had while making this. It felt very authentic and true to these creators and their vision. And it felt like its own Star Wars story. It's just that this adventure is happening in the galaxy that we know. And I was really glad to see that because it felt like a breath of fresh air.
I like what you said there. I really, again, we'll see how this series plays out. But this, for a low-profile marketing campaign so far, we're inside a month, and I wouldn't say there's been a ton, and I understand why, not just in terms of Lucasfilm, Disney, Star Wars. There's a lot going on in the world that the marketing might get lost in if you just jump it all out now. So let's move on to our favorite moments. This is breaking down the trailer even more. And as always, we recommend you check out our buddy, Alex Damon. Alex and Molly run Star Wars Explained. And Alex, I watched your breakdown a lot because I really appreciate it. And we'll discuss some of your wilder theories in a bit. But check out our buddy Alex's video. He did a breakdown of this. But Jen, what are some of our favorite moments in this trailer?
The first thing that jumped out to me was that it said, from Lucasfilm. And then it said, the directors of Spider-Man and The Mandalorian comes a new Star Wars adventure. The fact that they led with Lucasfilm, to me, was really telling. I think that they were signaling to maybe older people who know, like, Lucasfilm is not just Star Wars, right? Lucasfilm is like so many great adventure movies and TV shows that we have gotten, since these 80s or 70s, whatever you want to say. That was really an important detail. I feel like it was intentional in the sense that it's appealing to the masses. It's saying, you don't have to know about Star Wars, which is why I think that the music choice is important, which we'll get into later. You don't have to know about canon. You don't have to know about, the different eras and, whatever, right? You don't even have to really know who Luke Skywalker is. You can get into this story because this is just a fun adventure that's for everyone. And I thought that was a really important detail.
Yeah, in terms of marketing, I hadn't even really thought about that. But yeah, especially if you're putting, again, we're in the bubble. We're waiting for this. Oh, it's Skeleton Crew trailer. We've been waiting for a year. Someone else just watching football on a Sunday or hanging out, and you see this, you're immediately going to have name brand recognition with that. And obviously Star Wars is going to come to mind. But going into that, I don't know, Indy, Willow, all those kind of things. That works.
Exactly. Yeah. I liked that it had a few comedic moments. It did not feel heavy-handed. It felt very natural, which I appreciated. Of course, I loved the creature cantina and all the aliens that were in that whatever it was, restaurant bar. That was fantastic. And really what struck me was that the production quality looked really good. when you're telling something about these kids getting lost in a big galaxy, I need to make it, the galaxy needs to feel big in order for the story to work. I think whether it was the locations where they shot out, the sets, maybe a little bit of the volume, it all worked together where it felt like this big, wild, open space where anything can happen. I love that. That made me so happy.
I'm with you. I want to hear more of your moments, but you're touching on two things that are on the top of my list here. I put it just 49 seconds in. You got the big shot of the port that it looks like they land at, and it's great. And there's maybe some Hondo watch theory clues in it if you zoom in on one of the ships. The one that's named after, I got to look it up. The one that's named after one of the younglings from the Gathering arc. There's all that, but I put it down because it is this tableau. It almost reminded me of something from Return of the Jedi, but just it is the larger world. It is the larger galaxy. And just that one shot, you kind of made me feel it for those kids already, because it's clearly seems to be like an early in the series kind of shot that they're taken from. And yeah, I think it conveyed that while also, giving that Star Wars sense of wonder of what's there, what ships are there. You can zoom in and pick up clues that may be there or not, but I don't know. The option is there with something like this. So I thought it successfully conveyed that. And then the humor as well. I watched this. It's one of those things you watch it while the trailer's out. Let me watch this. And then you're not really watching it, so only one or two moments. The Neil joke of, Neil, I need you to take the controls. Neil. Wim delivered it wonderfully, and as we've talked before, Star Wars and humor. Sometimes it can be a little wonky. I'm even looking at you, George, and some of your jokes from the past. I was watching Return of the Jedi in parts over the last week or so, and as a kid, I loved Han Solo tapping 3PO 3 times on the shoulder. As an adult, not as much, but it is what it is. But I thought it was, like you said, a real organic moment. Character coming out of comedy coming out of the characters is what you want when you're writing, and I thought that was really effective. So good stuff there. You mentioned the creatures. I loved the creatures there. We have a question coming up in our Star Wars questions episode this week about the creatures and the creature shop and all that wonderful stuff. And yeah, Jen, you love the creatures. This is almost a Jedi beat doc waiting to be made. I love them serving food and asking about Old Republic credits, kind of setting us up. But that too has a lot of 80s fantasy vibes to me, whether it's going to scare me like Dark Crystal or entertain me like The Great Muppet Caper. I don't know. There's something a little Amblin in this, even though it's completely Star Wars.
Yes. And what was interesting is the pirate aspect of it, which is something that I had wondered how it would play, if it was going to really seem like kind of threatening and scary. But that creature scene, and then just like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was like, oh, this is going to be dangerous. This is going to be like, are they going to make it? Are they going to get out okay? Is anybody going to get hurt? Or any of my little kids going to get hurt? Because I don't want to see anybody get hurt in this thing.
Don't you hurt my Neil. Don't you hurt my Neil.
This is a series where I do not want any deaths. I know in previous Star Wars series, I'm like, bring it on. People need to be killed. Here, no. Everyone needs to get out alive and safe.
And I know you love the Acolyte series, but so you're talking about no deaths, no Jackie deaths, no Lord Horde, not okay.
Yeah. Those deaths were actually okay. It was important for the story, but like here, we are protecting these little kids. Oh my gosh.
Look, it would be the bravest, maybe craziest decision, but bravest decision ever if like episode 4 Neil dies. Like, what are we talking? Like,
that's a Nanta move. Like if we had known Nanta and really gotten to know her, and then George did that, we would have been. It's like, Atreyu, you can't do this to me. Don't hurt my Neil.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that. There, no deaths.
Deaths.
ForceCenter comes down on no deaths in Skeleton Crew.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Okay.
One last thing I'll say is I really liked the juxtaposition of the mundane suburbia with the big galaxy. It really worked for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, which I do know why, and I'll explain later. But yeah, I just thought that it was kind of nice, a nice contrast. and something different than we've gotten in Star Wars.
Yeah, and yeah, we can dive in a little deeper as well, especially in the themes that might pop up again. And I'm saying this in complete jest, but even Alex Dabin is talking this week about it. It's still jarring to him a little bit, the suburban stuff. And I'm going to say, Alex, get over it. That's what I'm just going to say. There's no. I understand why. I've never been there with this because we saw this at Celebration London. Was the first time I had seen this. But I understand, and we'll talk about the music thing. I understand what might rub up against you a little bit and take you out of Star Wars. It is something new, but I think it's going to be used. This is the series for it. But I do acknowledge it's a little different.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a reason for it, which we'll get into.
Yeah, some of the other moments for me, I mentioned the creatures. I love that setup, and where'd you get them old Republic? It's just a wonderful setup for the adventure about to begin. But that leads to Jod Nanawood and the intrigue. This trailer did not show any use of the Force that they've revealed with him in the past. That whether it's him faking it, being a Jedi, or anything, all those things which are fun speculation points, but not highlighted here. They really highlighted that he comes off as it's had sketchy, but in the most adventurous way. We've talked about his outfit being a little scoundrelly in the past, but there's not a heroic start to this character for me in my mind after this trailer, which is a good thing because he's totally got those kids got money. I bet I can take it. Get on the ship, kids. I like it. And I think Jude Law is, his casting has never been an issue with me, but he is, at least for our generation, I don't know. He's the talented Mr. Ripley. It's still kind of, that almost takes me out of it more than the suburban Star Wars stuff is, Jude Law's in Star Wars. But now to see him in a little bit more action, to see him just delivering great lines already in just this trailer. Again, we'll see how it plays out. But I'm on board, and I thought this trailer did a really good job of setting up Jod Nanawood and that Star Wars name as being really scoundrelly and intriguing.
That is such a great point. You're right. Immediately, I was like, "Oh, he is definitely sketchy. I would not trust him. Don't take his candy, kids."
Also, this being such an '80s, it's being an '80s based film. We learned this lesson: do not get on a spaceship with a stranger that you meet at a bar. Neil,
like George
don't do
said,
it.
We got to have these myths for every generation. So got to remind the kids.
Yeah. I'm not making fun, but you and I grew up in that era where you did not want to be on a milk carton, and that traumatized me for years. I was part of the reason I was a scared little boy. And when I moved to LA and just stayed in my apartment for 2 years, I don't know what can happen out there. So it's not wrong to think that. But yeah, anyways, all that wrapped up in a scoundrelous Jod Nanawood.
I love it. Yes, I'm excited for him.
A couple other things, then we can get on to themes and lessons, Jen. SM-33 SME in action, this being the droid that seems to be attached to the ship. And part of the, you got to have a droid, and you got Nick Frost voicing this droid. But to see him in action, one of my favorite things in Ahsoka was Huang kind of fighting and little, he isn't just a professor droid in the back of the ship. He can handle himself, and so I like that Smee got some punches in. And we need some of that. We need that going on. The other thing, two things, Jen, is without a doubt, we got a treasure hunt vibe. It wouldn't be an 80s kid adventure without that. Pirates, we've talked about the pirates and the themes, but also just them being there. I love that, and there's, got a little bit of a heist in action. There's a shot that almost reminded me of the train heist in Solo. Which made me immediately think of, I would take Infant's Nest coming back in this series. I don't necessarily think it's the case, but there was the one character we don't know yet going, be warned of booby traps, pirates, and mountains where no one dares to go. No one dare go. I actually wrote it down to be accurate. Where none dare go, dare to go. I really love that setup. I love that kind of through line. This isn't just simply about getting home, finding a way back home, because you have, Carrie Condon's character, Farah, I believe, pops up to, don't give up, those kind of things. Yeah. Those are big theme moments for me. But in just setting up the series and what this trailer does need to do, got it. It's 4 kids lost in space who need to get home. But to have a treasure hunt, the pirates are after something, and it's an adventure, and there's be warned, dead men tell no tales of booby traps and mountains and pirates and actual heist in action or something going on with high risk and also potentially high reward. Loved that the trailer set that up.
I want a treasure map. Is there going to be a treasure map? Have we seen a treasure map?
No.
No, that'd be fun. That would be really great.
Can we add that a section of this into Galaxy's Edge, just in the corner? Then put in.
Oh my gosh! Wait, that could be great if they incorporate some of these things into Galaxy's Edge.
I mean,
that'd be so fun.
If you got them youngsters interested in it, I don't think that's a bad idea. We're going to move on to themes. We love talking themes here at ForceCenter. In fact, some would say it's our favorite thing. We love diving in, looking for the deeper meaning behind it. Minute 59 seconds, they got to convey a lot of things. Some of the themes have been present. There's also some interviews. Go to StarWars.com. Get a great interview with Watts and Ford. Stuff's out there. But Jen, any themes jumping out for you here?
The biggest one for me is that I think that complacency is actually more dangerous. And this is the reason why I really like the suburban elements of the show. And Alex kind of mentioned this a little bit in some of the things that he saw, is that this looks like a peaceful planet. It looks like, utopia, but I don't believe that it is. I believe that, they are being watched and the government is there, kind of like Big Brother. And any sort of going against that is dangerous. So it's actually, they're trying to control these people. So everything is not as it seems, which is kind of why I like this portrayal of the suburbia. And these kids go on this adventure to do something. I don't know how that fits with the kids. But obviously, if Farrah is saying, right, she's saying don't give up. Well, then why is she? There's got to be bigger stakes than just them involved with treasure, I guess.
And I agree with that. I do. Yeah, Alex mentioned this. The suburban. The suburbs are an interesting. I feel like Tim Burton here.
Exactly.
I live in his hometown, and the trap of suburbia Burbank shows up in a lot of Burton pictures. Edward Scissorhands is essentially Burbank in a lot of things. So there's that, and the government element there. I like that we got a kids kind of, I don't know, Mr. Robot kind of weird political. I'm combining a lot of shows in my head. I'm not saying that's what I think. I like that that's being discussed. What you're saying there rings true. One of the themes that jumps out to me early. You have it right at the beginning, Fern and Wim, and the what are you in for? It's clearly detention. We got Carrie Condon playing Farah, who looks to be a proctor of this school, which is definitely a little bit more prim and proper than a principal. But I love it. I put the same notes too down without the political intrigue kind of angle that I know you're having fun with there. But this breaking out of your what I'm calling like preset patterns, your childhood, literally breaking out of your childhood and going on this great adventure. That's a great Star Wars story. But one of the lines they use early around that section, once the adventure starts, is don't touch anything. Now, in general, that's a good piece of advice, kids. But I just kind of like you said, everything's kind of talking about being in a box, being in a routine, and how you're, and more than me as a parent, but parents try to bring you up right, but also bring you up, with safety and concern in mind. And Wim's dad has those kind of vibes. He doesn't come off as a bad dad. He comes off as a dad who's like, you're being rebellious, and I'm worried, and I have to maybe as a parent let go, and also try to help you. There's some lines that indicate that they might later on, but I just like that in terms of themes, in terms of a suburban setting in Star Wars, and the idea of kids who don't know they're in Star Wars, which is a grand adventure, the greatest saga ever told. They don't know that they're in that. But the idea that these two kids begin with this, what are you in here for? It's detention, but it's kind of like life to me in a way. And to wax poetic about it, and the idea of, especially, we all infer, our own kind of perspectives and stuff into the conversations, but and into our thoughts. But don't touch anything is how I was raised.
Yeah, right. Me too.
And not just the buttons, but also if you try, you could get hurt.
Yes.
as opposed to you could succeed. And I just really picked up on that energy early on. It's a fun detention trope, but I think it's a lot more. And it's about breaking out of the suburban patterns and routines that aren't necessarily inherently bad, but they definitely can be stifling if you're not careful. So that's a good start for me.
I love that. And I think it was actually Molly who pointed out a Breakfast Club kind of vibe. And the thing that I think that works with the theme is that with a Breakfast Club, everyone had these identities that were kind of put on them, or who other people saw them as, right? And ultimately they break out of that and they just become kids, you know? And I think that here in this galaxy, these kids are maybe like seen as a certain way. Adults are telling them who they need to be. Other kids see them as a certain type of person. But through this journey, they're going to surprise themselves and others because they're not going to embody that stereotype or whatever it is that other people telling them that they need, that they are, or that they need to be. Shaping their own destiny. How Star Wars is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And then one little note that we got 4 kids, but they're 2 groups of best friends here, right? We got Wim and Neil and Fern, and I apologize, I have to look up the KB is the other kid there, played by Karana Cratter. I like that. There was something I liked about that note of it isn't just 4 chums. To use like some sort of boomer, but they've got to figure out how to get along. And you got, we as a Star Wars fandom, I think in general, already love Neil. We're very protective of Neil, despite me suggesting he might die in episode 4 in this show. Because we all have that friend, or we are that friend. And then you meet new friends as you get older, and then your friend group's got to come together, and there could be some tension there, or it doesn't gel right away. And I like what you're saying about you could have a lot of preconceived notions. If Neil is that kid in class, that we all, oh, silly Neil, and you've got to work with him, and you're KB, and you're a little bit more, stringent and strident, and you got rebellious Fern, who's got mom's the proctor and in government, as described in this character thing. We'll talk more about that. Yeah, there's a lot of, I like that Breakfast Club thing you and Molly suggesting, that's part of the success of that film was, especially at the time, in high school, and groups and stereotypes, and who you are does not necessarily, who they think you are is not necessarily who you have to be. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that Fern. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go Fern.
No, I love that Fern kind of seems like the older sister of the group. I don't know if she's meant to be a little bit older or if she's the same age, but she just kind of comes across like I would follow her lead, and she's having a deal. And she just seems kind of frustrated with Wim and Neil. And I just love that. As a big sister, I can relate.
Yeah. Well, there's that, the energy, plus her mom, she's got a little bit of the pastor's kid syndrome going, clearly. Mom's in government and the proctor, and here she is, with patches and a little bit more of the, she's almost Charlie Sheen in Ferris Bueller's Day Off at the police station with Jennifer Grey. Like, hey, what are you doing in here? And I like that she's a de facto leader in this sense. So she seems like the kid she's already tried a death stick. And maybe snuck a smooch around the corner under the bleachers. Like she's got some experiences, and let me tell you, kid, we're the same age. But let me tell you, kid, and I like that energy being portrayed there.
Exactly. That's so fun.
Maybe one of the teachers will be an older Ilan Sleazebagano who went into teaching after Obi-Wan Kenobi had him rethink his life, and he gives a whole "Say No to Death Stick" speech.
Love that. Oh, or I'd even love that, like a poster somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be such a fun. Now that's a good Easter egg.
There you go. One of the final themes, and it's similar to things we've been talking about, to be clear. The idea of this literal taking off and the journey we all take often makes it seem like you're lost, right? I watched that George Lucas 2017 moment again because it got shared this past week as people were upset that Star Wars was for children. Some people were, not everyone, just to be clear. And I was there at that panel. It was Orlando 2017. And I remember George saying that. And there's definitely some energy, that George frustration behind it. Like, he was telling a story, but he also was kind of like, God, you all missed it. But this is what he is always, whenever Star Wars is for 12-year-olds, you have to go to that moment in Orlando and other times that he said it of no, like you are about to leave your parents. You're about to, even though you're 12, you're not leaving them, but they aren't your focus anymore is what he said. They aren't the center of your world. You have other influences. You have a lot of choices that you now have to make, and it's not always going to work out, and it's not always going to be great, and you're going to have some lessons. This is the embodiment of that in this trailer. It's literally got the taking off, the journey's beginning, and they immediately seem lost. That's growing up. Hell, that's living now. That's me this week. And the hope is, and the truth is, you will find your true north. You'll find your home, whether it's your way back. I have a feeling the kids are going to return and not necessarily want to just stay there in the suburbs the rest of their life. Maybe Neil does. Maybe Neil wants to open up some like craft shop or a sandwich store or something. I can respect that. It's Space Deli. But you're going to find your true home. You're going to find your true friends. And the journey begins like this, and it ain't always easy. And I love that we have don't press the button, the ship explodes. You got even a parent there going, Wim, no. The dad sees it happening. And the first thing we hear in this trailer, though not necessarily going to be in the show, but is, damn, we're lost. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. And enter Jordan Nodwood saying, I've got candy, but that's a different conversation. But so that was my final big theme note.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing that Star Wars is not for kids is laughable. Star Wars is the success that it is because we saw it as kids, because we grew up with it. And that's what's so unique really about the movies of the 80s was, I feel, and I could be wrong from a film perspective, but it was the first time where kids were having these journeys, and it was like really these like formative hero's journey stories where these kid actors, people who really were kids, were going on this adventure. And maybe I'm sure that there was stuff from the 1960s and 70s, and I'm totally forgetting, right? But like there was just something about that era that was really special about seeing like kids, actual kids, all doing these adventures.
Certainly coming of age films have existed, and all that kind of stuff. Sure, there's some examples too that I don't know off the top of my head. But what I think you're touching on is this: you hear the Amblin era. It's not just about Amblin films. It's about from the late 70s into the early 90s. I think you can go into some of the early 90s things, even something like Hook, not necessarily super popular for you or I, but a generation or half a generation younger loves Hook. It's the same vibe to me. And it is real adventures. And for the first time, it is treating these kids as characters, right? I think that's the genius of John Hughes.
That's it.
They spoke directly to these kids in the 80s and said, we got you. We understand it. And here's the stories. And here's where you can find yourself. And that's why I think you had that golden age of it. And sometimes it became IP. They became, including Star Wars. And there's the toy market. And, sometimes people will say, we're still, working under that kind of. We got a lot of Gen Xers and old millennials producing movies now that are maybe too leaning on nostalgia. I don't always agree with that conversation, but I understand where it comes from. But I think it's because of what you're talking about. This was our art. This is why I always argue: don't overlook the importance of, say, comic books. Don't be, an out of touch commentator. Still think of them as silly picture books. They never really were. Obviously, they had deeper themes in the 60s and 70s as well. But this was our art. Like, sorry, we didn't all grow up on Shakespeare. This was our Shakespeare, and it needed to, and things in the 80s treated it as such. Not all of it, of course. There was some fluff, but I think that's what you're picking up on. And I think this series, this trailer, I really do think is reaching for those heights on meaning and speaking to the kids as kids.
Exactly. The kid experience that or even like as adults that we can still identify with is trying or relate to, trying to assert yourself and trying to maybe change your identity or struggling, with what to do struggling with how to, to be in the world, be our true selves. Because if I look at the 1950s, say with Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, like those types of pictures were like what people wanted kids to be, like this kind of perfect type of, I don't know, I think of like the studio system. It's very, very different than what we got in the 1980s and now beyond. Even the 90s with Sandlot, right? Yeah. I feel like this really taps into that authenticity.
Yeah. Speaking right, Adam, that's, I think, the secret of all of it there in that era. And I think it's when you think there's so many influences that are already present in the show, including Star Wars being an influence on the Star Wars show, but that's always going to be the case now. It's been around for 50 years. But it's not just those influences. It is the ideas behind it. And they do talk about that. And having a conversation with that Yinzer Filoni about, George's influences. And that's what you got to bring to this as well. And they did. And they have. On that note, any final theme thoughts from you, Jen?
No.
Well, we're having a lot of fun. We're doing good. We're breaking down this trailer. Oh, sometimes I'm worried. Do I have anything to say about these things? I still do. I do.
Of course you do.
Of course we do.
Yes.
Of course we do. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to dive into the controversies of Skeleton Crew, this trailer, and some wild, wacky theories. Ed, stick around for more ForceCenter. Welcome back. We are here. That is Jen Landa. I am Ken Napzok. We are having some fun. We're sipping coffee. It's a Monday morning for us. We're releasing this video and the podcast pretty much after we record it today because in the United States of these Americas, we have a big event going on this week. So we're going to put the distraction out now so we can go take care of business tomorrow. Jen, one of the things, the biggest talking point of this trailer is the great music debate. The trailer featured, it featured a Huttese version of Peter Schilling's 1982 new wave hit "Major Tom Coming Home." So that's the big thing to talk about. It has ignited quite the discussion. It's not a Star Wars song. It's too real world, but got all that. But before that, I wanted to actually dive into the music at the beginning of the trailer. Synthy, moody. I think there's going to be, and I think correctly, a lot of comparisons to Stranger Things, both in the score and the songs. But I forgot to put on our notes. Just the music overall. What's your reaction?
It was so seamless that I thought that it was one song. It wasn't? It wasn't the first part of the song? Here's where I'll come into the music conversation.
A friend of mine, I'll just shout him out, Steve Ellis, Black Series Rebels. You all remember Steve and Alex? Yeah. He texted me later in the day about the song thing, and he actually sent me the song. Goes, I never expected to see this in the Star Wars trailer, and I went, that was in the trailer. And he's like, yeah, and I was like, but yeah, it was the Huttese. Like I didn't even. I was so focused on other things that I always admit I go to the music second, right? That's when people are like, "What's your favorite score?" Let me think for a moment. I go to other things, visual and dialogues and performance, but the music sometimes is so seamless. So I don't know. I thought it was a combination of things. It's definitely vibe setting, and I think I guess the question is too is that choice of music, whether it's different pieces of music or the one song, Jen, is the vibe it sets. I guess that's the question. Are you okay with that?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. Whether it's one song or two songs or whatever, I thought it was so perfect to let everyone know this is going to be a different type of Star Wars adventure, right? Mm-hmm. This is not going to be what you're used to. And whether or not they incorporate this type of music in the show, I don't know. But I thought it was pretty brilliant.
So I know the composer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But they haven't announced it yet. And I got reminded of that this weekend. And I just went up to IMDb. They haven't, it's not there. It's not listed. Oh. So I don't want to spill any beads. But it is, at least, it could be a team behind it, everything. I don't know. But it's a younger person. And right. I think that is an interesting choice for this series. And again, drawing the comparisons to Stranger Things, it's just a surface level comparison there. Stranger Things with their music, their vibes, and then the use of popular songs from that era. This is an 80s Amblin era show, as we and others have talked ad nauseum. The music, it was youthful, it was different. And then the choice of, and getting into this conversation, Jen, the choice of using this song, which is catchy as hell, both the German version and the American translation, or in this case, Huttese, I really liked the choice. I understand if anyone's going to come in here and say, it took me out of it, as did my friend Steve, and as others have said, that's a big I understand you moment for me. But for me, it actually worked. It was so effective. It was so different. And we are 50 years on. We are 12 years on into a new era of Disney Star Wars. We've got youngsters who were 9 or 10 when Force Awakens comes out, who've grown up with a different vibe. They're not going to be as beholden to the John Williams stuff. And I got to make sure I'm clear. Like, I have that. When Mandalorian showed up, Ludwig Göransson is someone I enjoy his work. I'm a big fan of the band Haim. He was a producer on some of the music there. I got brushed back off the plate a little bit with his music in Mandalorian at first, because it wasn't, not just that it wasn't John Williams, because we had Michael Giacchino doing Rogue One. We had John Powell solo. I loved all that stuff. Wow. Mandalorian, it was TV. It was different. It was vibe, and that broke me out of the mold. A movie, Mandalorian Grogu. We'll see what it does. That's going to be an interesting thing. But like the Rey Jedi Order film, whoever's the composer, I hope John Williams has something to do with. He hangs on to get one more Rey theme version in there. But I do want that to like the old THX sound, whatever, the surround sound. That guy sitting in the chair just having his hair and glasses and everything. I want the music to just slap me in the face in a movie. Yeah. TV show, I'm broken a little bit off that mold, and this is I'm intrigued to see what they actually put in the series. If it is completely synthy 80s pop vibe for this adventure series, with I'm sure some big themes, I'm sure some Star Wars moments. But I'm excited by that. And then my final point, Jen, I'll kick it to you, is, not for nothing, but in this TikTok age, it's the oldest I've ever sounded. In this TikTok age, you and I talked about, the influencer conversation, but also that's where the eyes are. That's where the ears are. Having a song pop up that's a real song and have that go viral, I don't know. I think Kate Bush will tell you it does pretty good things. If you're running up that hill, I think it does a good job of getting the word out and connecting in even more ways. And I think it's a bold choice. Whether or not that song's in the show or not, I don't know. I don't care at this point. I just think it set the vibe music-wise for something cool and different and younger. I
mean, we know that this is a real song. My kids had no idea. They don't know that this is, a 1980s song.
Your 9-year-old wasn't like, Mom, they used Major Tom Coming Home from Peter Schilling, the 1982 New Wave pop hit.
Right. The kids don't know, and the kids don't care, right? And so it's like, what's gonna get their attention and give them the vibe that this is accessible to you? If you don't like space fantasy, if you don't consider yourself a Star Wars fan, that's okay. You can watch Skeleton Crew, right? That's what I feel like this music choice is it's saying, come on, kids, come one, come all. You're welcome to watch this show, because it's not going to be your I don't want to say, not going to be your mom's Star Wars. Yeah. But that's really what it is what I think. And I really hope that they incorporate modern music in the show like Willow did. I loved Willow's covers that came at the end of I think it was only at the end of each episode. I don't think that they wove it into the show.
It's at the end, and look, it's a you saying that, probably I can hear keyboards clacking. I know a lot of people didn't like that. I like the choice. I think it worked for Willow. Then Acolyte ended. We had that one song that ended it, and that one maybe worked less for me. But I even said then, and I stand by it now, I love that kind of swing. It's okay. Look, there's sometimes, I don't want anyone to get me wrong here or get it twisted. Like, John Williams is the secret sauce. That kind of big sweeping music is Star Wars. I don't think that's going away. But don't forget, things have changed along the way that you're always going to rub up against it. That's what change is so hard. The Clone Wars version, we praise correctly Kevin Kiner and the Kiner family, but forget the theater in 2008. When I first heard the Clone Wars theme on TV, like this kind of rock and roll drum version of the Star Wars theme, I was angry. I was actively angry. I could have been an angry car guy. I always say I would get in my car and do YouTube videos if I could back then and be angry. I mean, I could have. I probably should have. Would have made money earlier, right? So I understand it. I'm not saying if anyone's like, no, I don't like what they did with the Willow theme, that you're wrong at all. It's subjective. I just think it's a big creative swing where what I was going to with the John Williams thing is John Williams and the score to New Hope, as you know, Jen, was counter to the current culture. And it was a harken back. It was George saying, "Hey, let's go back a bit," versus what's kind of been going on in the '70s film scene, both disco scores or just The Graduate and all that stuff. Let's do something bigger. Let's go back. And that can almost become the standard where I like that. I think with Mandalorian, they tweaked it a bit, right? I think with Book of Boba Fett, I think that was a fun tweak. I think this is a fun tweak. I think I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't know how much this translates into the show. But to your point, if every episode ends with a Huttese version of some kind of popular 80s song, I'm going to take that ride until either I don't like it anymore or they decide not to. I like that idea right now. Not, and I know some people won't, because the Willow thing also was, I'll say this, it definitely wasn't in world as much as you would think. This is in world.
This is in world.
Yeah.
I think it's irreverent. I think it's an irreverent choice, and I think that's good because kids are irreverent and they like parodies. They like things that are weird, and when you really listen to how weird it sounds, this person singing in Haris, it's smart. It appeals to younger people, and that's what we want in order to have more Star Wars. It can't just be for the serious Star Wars fans who want everything to be like.
You'll have Andor. By the way, I think Andor played with the format music wise too.
Yes,
I absolutely think it did. So I think to those who have, and again, we're saying this, who have the good faith opposition to this music choice or potentially what the score might feel or sound like, hey, it's not working for me, which is a legit choice.
Yeah.
I think you might be more open to it than you think once you get there. We'll see.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And, I'm sure 68-year-old Peter Schilling is like, what's happening? This is great.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm going to get 35 cents more from Spotify this month? Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely love that. And also, the Huttese translation, the lyric Bunky Dunko, I mean, that's going to be worth the price of admission on its own, Jen.
I just love it. I love it. Now I got to listen to it.
Take it in, everybody. Take it in. And the other thing, the final thing, you can tell that Rock and Roll DJ is coming out in my soul here, Jen. The song, though it tells a specific story about this Major Tom character, and yes, it's we got the reference to Bowie and everything, but the chorus about coming home, lost in space and coming home, of course it works. It absolutely connects. It's something fun. Theories, Jen. We got ourselves some theories, and I'm not good at theories. We've always said that here. Speculate responsibly, which sometimes you hear out in the world, comes from our show here. That's more about keeping expectations in check so they don't override the creator's intentions with the show and being open to what they present, but it doesn't mean we don't have theories here. So I don't have a lot of theories of my own, but this one's going around here, and I want to again shout out to Alex and Molly Damon, Star Wars Explained. Not only are really good buds of ours, not only are they great drinking buddies and dance floor buddies at weddings, they put out wonderful, helpful videos still to this day, and I really liked Alex and his mustache breaking down some of the ideas. Hey, look, I got my nails painted from Halloween. He's got a mustache. It's just wild, weird times here. Carrie Condon plays Farah, the mother of Fern, one of the kids at the center of the story. She appears to be a teacher. Earlier we said like the proctor it's an Arabic translation on the wall behind her, one of the scenes. It might be the proctor of the school the kids are at. And it is said that Fern, that's Farah's mother, Fern's mother is in the government. So, Jen, this is a little wild. I like this one here. This, along with Farah's clothing and even the hair, has led to a lot of theories that she's actually related to Mon Mothma. In fact, some even say she's maybe a grown-up Lita Mothma, perhaps trying to distance herself from her mother or more. This isn't necessarily my theory. We had some ForceCenter friends in our Discord post this up. I love theories. I love that they are completely wacky, wild, that they're the potato in space versus Boba Fett starship in space. It's usually never as melodramatic and grand as you want the theories to be. But what is your thought on this theory, and what would that even mean?
I will admit, it took me out when I saw her because I was like, that is the same shade of blue that Lita and Mon Mothma wear. Yeah. So I was like, wait, hold on. And that's when I had to go back a second time. I'm like, I can't imagine. That would be quite a thread to carry over if she was grown up Lita,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It's wild. It could be fun, but it's a little too wild for my taste.
It's out there in the sense of you're pulling it from Andor, and we don't know.
Right.
Season 2 of Andor could end with Lita's death, because that is kind of what the show could do, or would do. But it's interesting to me in the sense of you highlighted it too, that there seems to be a lot of, hey, the government's clamping down, the government's watching. Well, the government, 5 years after Return of the Jedi's events in this series, it's loosely 5 years. It's in that Mandoverse timeline, as we know. It's the New Republic for the most part, unless they're in some other part of the galaxy, which we'll talk about where this planet might be, all that kind of stuff. But if it's tied to Mothma, here's how it could work for me, or why I am intrigued enough beyond just like you said, the visual. Yeah, it seems to connect. Often in Star Wars, is someone who spent a lot of years going, oh, I think that's Ilum. Sometimes just because it looks like it doesn't mean it is. But if she's changed her name too, that's the other thing. They say the name's Farah here, so that's different. But they changed the name, and she's not Lita. You got her kid is rebellious. You got her kid who's fighting back against who mom is. And if the mom has fought back against who mom is on the most famous of levels in Star Wars, the Chancellor of the Galaxy, there's something to mine here. I do think in a show that is about these 4 kids going on an adventure, it is about the pirates. It is about Jad Nanawood revealing whoever he is. The parents are in this, and there's lessons. I'm not a parent, Jen. My chihuahuas taught me a lot of lessons, but you've probably learned more even just in the last 9 years with 2 kids. It could set up what I like about the theory more than just, ooh, it's Lita or it's Mothma. This sliding scale of parent, mom, daughter, like there's a lot to mine there, possibly.
I like that. I do like that. There is something interesting, but then I'm like, well, why not just give her the name Lita?
Yes.
Right? Then we go into the weeds of how they're going to explain that. It really would become a big part of the story. Let me ask you this. Did they show more at Star Wars Celebration that we have not gotten in the trailers?
My mind says yes, they did show more about the parents. There was what I thought was more shots. However, it's been over a year. I did get a lot of drinking done at pubs that week. Then spent a fun, half week in Paris. I don't know if I remember every beat of the trailer like I think I do. So I think we might have seen as much parent stuff now as we did then.
Okay. I'm just looking for maybe some more clues, but it could just be a fun Easter egg. Going back to the Easter egg thing, I don't know, but it was shocking, that exact shade of blue. Even like I think it was a tendrils, right? Her hair.
Yeah.
That made it remind me of Lita. So it's funny to me. It's so striking, the visual.
Yeah, and you have to look at this was a show delayed a year. Let's not forget that. We were expecting this maybe end of 2023. There isn't always this. I think there might be a thought that I used to always make the joke that at the height of the YouTube movie punditry, it seemed like some fans thought we all woke up at the same house and we're in the same studio and we all knew each other, liked each other, knew what we were all working on. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Sometimes I feel like that's not going on in Disney Lucasfilm, where like all the showrunners and creators are like working down the hall from each other. Famously, there was a little bit of with the Boba Fett movie maybe, and season 1 of Mando, there was some like, oh, you're doing that? Oh, we were going to do that kind of vibe. That's just some stories. So I don't necessarily know why they're developing and pitching this show. They talked about when they first came up with the idea during making one of the Spider-Man films and talking to Johnny Favs. From that point, you're not necessarily running alongside Andor. Right? You're not necessarily going, oh, who do you got over there? Oh, Lita Mothma? Oh, okay. What if we call her Farah because she's far away from her mom? And as much as I'd like to, that's not necessarily how it happens. So that's why I'm putting some cold water on the theory. But thematically, because every time someone pitches me a theory, even off air in real life or at a party, my response is always, to do what? What does that do? What's it for? What is the why? Give me the why. And I'm intrigued by a potential why here of just the parent-child relationship in cycles and generations. Because I think the parents they're going to go through some lessons in this series as well.
100%. And I want to see StarWars.com do an interview with the costume designer of Skeleton Crew and ask them, why did you choose what looked like the same shade and texture of Lita and Mon Mothma's outfits? And she'll be like, oh, there was a beautiful blue bolt of fabric in the costuming room and we just used it.
Louise Mingenbach is the one there. Yeah, that's there you go. That's funny. Yeah, I'd love to get those interviews. Let's go. I hosted that panel last year with the folks behind Ahsoka, and I did ask the woman who carries a lot of takes care of a lot of the hair. I was like, I'm not asking for any scoops on Skeleton Crew, and she's just like, here, I'll give you the scoop. The kids are already too old, so that's the only scoop I got. So no insight yet. That's another thing too as well. All right, so we solved that theory, Jed. You're saying, at the end of the day, we're giving it a ForceCenter. Maybe on the theory?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
Well, we're not done with theories. We got this one here. Looking at some interviews outside this trailer, the kids' planet is a mystery. We haven't had it labeled yet on anything that I can tell. Again, referencing Alex in his video talking about it seems like the planet, when I don't have a script or clip in front of me, but it seems like when the kids are like, we're trying to get back home to blank, everyone's like, where the hell's blank? So we know the series takes place in wild space. We've already seen some of that stuff. We've seen that shot of Jordan Norwood looking at writing that is also seen in some shots in Ahsoka, so it could be Peridia. But there seems to be an idea, like I said, that no one knows where the kids' planet is and what they're trying to get back to. So are they from the Star Wars galaxy we know and they're trying to get back to that? Or are they in that galaxy that we know and they're trying to get back to an unknown galaxy? Jen, where do you want this planet? Where do you want space suburbs?
Oh, I saw somebody even say like Earth, which I'm just like, I don't know. I'm so bad with understanding our galaxy, like literally Earth and our galaxy.
Yeah, I get you.
So it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. And it's one of those things where I need a visual. I need to see the Star Wars galaxy and look at where the outer rim is, all that stuff. That would be very, very helpful for me. I feel like this is one where we're gonna speculate, and then it's gonna be a simple answer once the show happens, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to go wild with all the theories, and then they'll be like, oh, it's just this new planet, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
But there's got to be a reason. Why does nobody know? Is it because the government has tried to hide this planet? Like, what's going on?
Look, that's why I like, there's a part of me that likes the idea that this planet is in another galaxy. Now there's Ithorians, there's a lot of things that would indicate that no, it isn't ours. And I think the correct answer, when I say ours, I mean the Star Wars galaxy we're familiar with. And it's not in the unknown regions and all that stuff. I think there's enough to think that they're trying to get home to here, that they are in wild space, they're in the unknown regions, and that's part of the connection to Thrawn. But if it's the reverse, and it opens up what a lot of people wanted, which is Star Wars tales in other parts of the galaxy or in new galaxies. That's one of the victories of Ahsoka, where it took us to another spot. I could be on board for that. But also it would make me feel better about what you and folks like Alex are speculating with some of the government stuff. When someone's like, the government's watching, I'm like, well, hold on. That's Leia and Mothma here. They're not perfect.
Right. Or, right.
But it could just be a theme. It could be... You could have, E.T. with the faceless, nameless, government officials with keychains and cigarettes. Like, it could just be that, could be.
Oh man, I don't know.
Right.
This is.
Could this be how Thrawn actually gets to our galaxy, the Star Wars galaxy we know? After all, there's going to be one episode that's just Thrawn stowing away on their ship. And that's how it gets
like
home.
under the ship like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It will be interesting to see if the reason why nobody knows is tied to something to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
The Mandoverse, if you will. I don't know.
It could be.
I don't know.
It's fun speculation. We don't have all the answers. We're just going through it. What do you think? We want to know. Comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. That'd be great. Or if you're out there listening on the podcast side, put it in our Discord or reach out on social media. We'll tell you where at the end of the show. Other theories out there, I didn't take a deep dive. There's one, again, on Hondo. His ship there may be seen in that port shot. So other theories, we love it. We love the theories. We always say we're bad at it. I'm personally bad at them because I'm just like, I want to engage with what's in the show versus my own dreams because my expectations are mine. So you know what I mean. All right, Jen, that's it. We've broken down the Skeleton Crew official trailer. Final thoughts as we move to 1 month out from the Skeleton Crew. We're inside a month out.
Oh my goodness. I'm really excited because I'm going to make this, my husband and I said, we're going to make it a family event.
There you go.
Where we sit and watch this with our kids, whether they like it or not. I'm going to bribe them with popcorn and all sorts of stuff. I think my 5-year-old's on board, like I said. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. I'm really, really hopeful. I just from like the online reaction already, it's positive, which we have not seen in a while. So I'm thinking this could be a big success.
Yeah, we have talked about even the top of this show, but there's the fun that we felt may be needed. That's not to say Acolyte didn't have a lot of fun, that Ahsoka wasn't fun, or any other show before that, or Bad Batch, my favorite Star Wars television show. But this has, in my own journey, this has the vibes of Bad Batch, where when they announced Bad Batch, it wasn't a negative feeling. It was just like, okay,
yeah,
I'll see. And that grew into my personal favorite show over the last couple of years. When this was announced, I had this like, what are we doing over here? Like, not negative again, just like we're on this path. And suddenly, out of nowhere, it seems like maybe it's because it was no investor day. It was not a lot of. It wasn't tremendously rumored and scooped. It was just suddenly, hey, the guys behind Spider-Man are going to do a Star Wars kids adventure. Like,
yeah,
okay, I'm not against that. I'm focused on this. And now that it's here, and finally here after a delay for a year, I'm excited. I love the vibe. I love what they're putting down. And hopefully this will be the fun we need this holiday season. All right.
That's right.
That's it. There's only one way to find out. Watch it. And we will update you right now. The Skeleton Crew Report will be here on ForceCenter. The first 2 episodes drop on December 3rd. I'm talking about the Skeleton Crew. Joseph will be finishing up his movie, so he's going to miss the review of those first 2 episodes. But Jennifer and I here we're going to hold down the fort, and it's going to be a whole lot of singing and hutties. No problem.
That's right. By pages of notes, like I always do. Freeze framing things.
Freeze framing indeed. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, hey, leave a comment down below on your theories, thoughts, things you liked from the trailer. Also, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all those YouTube things. They really do help. Our Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We are available as a podcast on a lot of spots like our iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter, or down below if you're watching on YouTube in our Fourth Wall shop. Patreon.com/ForceCenter, where you can support us directly. Thank you to the 415 and more that have become paid supporters of the show there. Follow me at Napzok, or go to my website, cadnapzok.com, for more, including links to my radio show, where I'm probably just going to play this song. I might just play Major Tom Coming Home. Pop Rockin' Radio. It is heard live in Pennsylvania every Saturday, Sunday night, midnight Eastern. But you can also get it on my Patreon page and Mixcloud as well. Jen, where can they find and follow you?
You can find me and some of my Halloween adventures at Jennifer Landa on Instagram and, I don't know, YouTube, wherever else. And also TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
That's right. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time. So for Neil and all the adventures that he's going to have for a very long time, we'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.